y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Maine Squeeze collection that's available right now from Anchor Lacquer. I'll link her storefront and social media down below. This 6-piece collection full of shimmery pastel shades was sent to me for review. I'll also have more photos on my blog if you're interested at Sloppy Swatches, so I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. First up is Lobster Roll, and this is described as a peach leaning pink cream with a red shimmer. So I did think that this varied a little bit more on the pink side. It is very definitely bright and coral. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Lobster Roll swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. This one does go on nice and smooth, really easy. I do feel like these have a bit more of a crelly formula, so if you're familiar with that. This first coat is a little bit sheer, and I did have some streaking, so I definitely recommend capping the tip before you get to your last coat. I'll go ahead and show you how it built up with a second coat. I did opt to go in a little bit thicker here, and it definitely helps build up that opacity. This one is right on the edge of being between a 2 and 3 coater. I am going to go ahead and let that dry and show you how it builds up with a third coat. Again, I did go in a little bit thicker, but this is really the finish I prefer. I think it's nice and opaque, and that shimmer really does play nicely on that pink base. So here's a look at the completed mani before top coat, so it does dry down fairly glossy. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat. So that shimmer really comes out beautifully in all of these, especially in that direct sunlight. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in direct sunlight. I really feel like all of these are going to be beautiful matte as well. It's going to bump down that shine and really bring out the shimmer. So next up is Portland Sunrise, and this is described as an orange cream with a beautiful red shimmer. Again, this one's supposed to be opaque in about 2 to 3 coats. I do feel like these have a very cohesive formula across the board. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Portland Sunrise swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. I do tend to go in maybe a little bit thin with my first coat just to get a nice base down to build up on. So this one does go on nice and smooth, really easy. I did have those same brush stroking issues, so I definitely recommend capping the tip before you do your final coat. So here's a look at how it builds up with a second coat. I am opting again to go in a little bit thicker here. I really feel like this one is more of a 3-coater. I did have a good amount of nail line left over, so I'll let that dry and show you how it builds up with my third and final coat. So here's a look at that. Again, I am going in a little bit thicker, but that does pull this one completely opaque. I really love how that red shimmer bounces off the orange base as well. I think it's a really pretty mix. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat. So again, nice and glossy, maybe a little bit of dulling there. A good top coat, of course, will help bring out that shimmer and extend your wear time. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting. And then once more at an angle in that direct sunlight. So next up is Blackberry Lemonade, and this one is totally speaking through me just through the name. This is described as a medium yellow cream with a lavender shimmer. So this is the kind of different shift in shimmer here. Very beautiful on that yellow base. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Blackberry Lemonade swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. This one again goes on nice and smooth, pretty sheer though here, and I did have a little bit of brush stroking, so you just may want to be mindful of that. I'm going to go ahead and cap the tip here with the first coat, let it dry, and show you how it builds up with a second. So here's a look at that second coat. Again, I am opting to go in maybe a little heavy-handed and thicker with the second coat. It definitely helps builds it up and also adds a ton of shimmer, but this one is still pretty sheer at 2 coats. I'll let this dry and then show you how it looks with a third. So this is my third and final coat. Again, I did go in a little bit thicker here, and it definitely pulls it closer to being opaque. I really felt like this one balanced on the edge of opacity in 3 coats for me. If I was going to wear it for personal use, I think I would go in for a 4th coat. At some angles, you can still see a little bit of nail line. So here's a look at that completed mani before top coat underneath my artificial lighting. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat, so that shimmer is just stunning in natural sunlight. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle in that direct sunlight. So next up is Island Pines, and this is described as a mossy light green cream with a pink to green shifting shimmer. So this is the first duochrome shimmer I think I've seen in this collection. And again, is supposed to be opaque in 2 to 3 coats. So I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Island Pines swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. Again, pretty much like the others, it goes on nice and smooth, really easy. It does have a little bit of a thicker formula, but still really easy to work with. It did have some brush stroking as well, so I'm going to cap the tip here, let it dry, and show you how it builds up with a second coat. So here's a look at that second coat. You guys know the drill by now. I am going in for a little bit of a thicker second coat. I definitely do recommend going in thick with these polishes. They are beautiful and shimmery, but just a little bit sheer. So the second coat is almost completely opaque. I'll let it dry and come back in and show you how it builds up with my third coat. So here's a look at the third and final coat, and I do feel like this one pushes it completely opaque. Maybe in some lighting I did have a little bit of nail line, but not much at all. So here's a look at that completed mani underneath my artificial lighting before a top coat. So this one may dry down just a little bit dull. I definitely recommend going in with a good top coat. This is a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting. And then finally at an angle again in that direct sunlight. So these last two are definitely my favorite. First up is Beaches Beaches, and this is described as an azure blue cream with strong copper to orange shimmer. Again, 2 to 3 coats for full opacity. This shimmer plus this base color just screams summer to me. So beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Beaches Beaches swatched on my natural nail. So here is a look at my first coat. This one did go on nice and smooth, really easy, much like the others. I did have some brush stroking a little bit, and this one was quite sheer, so I did end up going in for a bit of a thicker first coat. I really think that this is going to come into play and how many coats that I had to do for this polish. If you like to go in thinner, you may for sure need 3 coats. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how it builds up with a second. Again, I did go in a little bit thicker, but this does bring this one completely opaque for me. This is one of the few of the collection that I stopped at 2 coats. I feel like if you wanted to, you could absolutely go for a third, and if you would prefer thin coats, I definitely think that this is going to be a 3-coater, but it is extremely beautiful on the nail. Here's a look at that completed mani before top coat underneath my artificial lighting. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then finally at an angle in direct sunlight. So lastly today I have Wicked Good Blueberries, and this is described as a lavender purple with a blue to purple shifting shimmer. This is, I think, my top pick of the collection. I really think this is going to be a stunner, especially when it's matte and all of that kind of teal shimmer gets to pop through. So here's a look at that brush shot, and I'll show you how Wicked Good Blueberries swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. Again, nice and smooth, really easy. These are really easy to work with. Even though you have to go for 3 coats for most of these, it's no problem at all. It's not going to build up too thick on the nail. And these do dry fairly quickly. So here's a look at that first coat. Pretty sheer. I'll let it dry and come back in and show you how it builds up with a second. So here's a look at that second coat. I did opt to go in a little bit thicker here. And I think this one really balances on the edge of being a 2 and 3 coater. The shimmer is really strong, so it's going to kind of mask any visible nail line that you do have. I am going to go ahead and show you how it builds up with a third coat. I feel like I had a little bit of too much nail line showing there. 3 coats for sure, no problem, brings this one completely opaque. So here's a look at that completed mani underneath my artificial lighting before a top coat. Here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with top coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then finally at an angle in that direct sunlight. So that does wrap up today's swatch and review of the Maine Squeeze collection. Again, these are available right now. I'll link them down below. They will retail for $55 for the entire collection or $10 a piece. If you'd like to see more photos, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.